Okay. Good morning and welcome to the Hawaii Board of Veterinary Medicine meeting. Before the meeting is called to order, we're going to play a short video to explain the procedures for this meeting and to explain how members of the public can participate and interact with board members.
Welcome to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting.
When the meeting begins momentarily, the chair will take a roll call, explain any specific rules for this particular board, and then move to public comment. The name of the board member will appear on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. For instance, this is board member Y, and this is board member E. Public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. You can indicate that you are ready to testify by clicking on the raise hand button being circled by the mouse on your screen now. At the appropriate time, the board will recognize you to speak and ask you to unmute your mic as shown here. Again, public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. Public attendees will not be able to unmute their microphone until recognized by the board. Public attendees who are recognized to testify will be asked to identify themselves by name and their affiliated organization if applicable. Please mute your microphone when you are finished speaking as a courtesy to others and members of the board. Public attendees will not be able to unmute themselves after the testimony is completed unless recognized again after raising their hand. At some point during the meeting, the board may choose to move into executive session. When the board moves into executive session, the board members' microphones and video feeds will be turned off, and a similar screen as you see now will be displayed. When the board returns from executive session, their microphones will be turned on as well as their video cameras.
Welcome again to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting.
At this time, the chair will call the meeting to order and take a roll call, as well as explain any additional rules that may be specific to this board.
Okay, so I'll start with to view the meeting. So to view the meeting and provide live oral testimony, please use the link at the top of the agenda. You'll be asked to enter your name. The board requests that you enter your full name, but you may also use a pseudonym or other identifier if you wish to remain anonymous. You will also be asked for an email address, and you may fill in this field with any entry in an email format. Your microphone will be automatically muted. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may click the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen to indicate that you wish to testify about that agenda item. The chairperson will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone. When recognized by the chairperson, please unmute your microphone before speaking and mute your microphone after you finish speaking. If you cannot get internet access, you may get audio-only access by calling the Zoom phone number listed at the top of the agenda. Upon dialing the number, you'll be prompted to enter the meeting ID, which is also listed at the top of the agenda. And after entering the meeting ID, you'll be asked to either enter your panelist number or wait to be admitted into the meeting. You will not have a panelist number, so please wait until you are admitted into the meeting. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may indicate you may want to testify by entering star and then 9 on your phone's keypad. After entering star and then 9, a voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chairperson, you may unmute yourself by pressing star and then 6 on your phone. A voice prompt will let you know that you have been unmuted, and once you're finished speaking, enter star and then 6 again to mute yourself. For both internet and phone access, when testifying, you'll be asked to identify yourself and the organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 5 minutes of testimony per agenda item. If connection to the meeting is lost for more than 30 minutes, the meeting will be continued on a specified time and date. This information will be provided on the board's website. So I will now take roll call. So members, when I call your name, please respond present or here. And if you are virtually joining us, please state if you are alone or if there is someone with you. Dr. Craig Nishimoto, licensed member.
Craig Nishimoto, present.
Dr. Lisa Wood, licensed member. Oh, so cute. Look how
You're muted, Dr. Wood.
Eileen Wada, public member. Present. And myself, Marcella Chalk, chair, am also present.
Just for the minutes, please, Dr. Nishimoto and Dr. Wood, are you alone besides Dr. Wood's, furry friend?
Yes, I'm alone, Craig Nishimoto.
Thank you. Oh, then Dr. Wood heard me. Hi, Dr. Wood, could you unmute yourself and let us know if you're alone?
I'm alone now. I'm sorry. We had a patient that needed monitoring and she just
Thank you.
left, so we're good.
Thank you. So I will now call the meeting to order and the time is 10:07.
Yes.
Okay, so first agenda item is approval of the July 12th, 2024 open session, executive session meeting minutes. Is there anyone who would like to provide testimony for these minutes?
Thank you, Chair. There is no one wishing to provide oral testimony.
May I have a motion or any corrections or amendments to these minutes?
Craig Nishimoto moves to accept the minutes as presented.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. So the second agenda item,
Any opposed?
oh, sorry.
Did you have any opposed?
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
No, any opposed? So motion has been moved forward, accepted. Sorry about that. So the next agenda item is adjudicatory matters. In the matter of the license to practice veterinary medicine of Malcolm Hickman, in regards to the board's final order, is there anyone who would like to provide testimony on this particular agenda item?
Thank you, Chair. There is no one wishing to provide oral testimony.
Thank you. The board will recess to consult with our board's attorney on questions and issues pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities in accordance to the HRS section 92-5A4. So we'll have a,
Yeah, we'll recess.
so we'll recess into executive session right now.
You'll be asked to join the
Mark, you have made this transition very seamless.
So in regards to agenda item number 3, regarding applications, is there anyone who would like to provide testimony on agenda item 3?
Thank you, Chair. We do not have anyone wishing to provide oral testimony.
Thank you, Mark. May I have a motion to move into executive session in accordance to HRS Section 92(5)(a)(1) and to consult with the board's attorney on questions and issues pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities in accordance with HRS Section 92(5)(a)(4). May I have a motion, please, to move into executive session?
Craig Nishimoto motions to move into executive session.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we'll move into executive session now. Thank you. So may I have a motion to accept as far as application review for Allison Marsh for approval for exam?
Dr. Wood, you're muted still.
I move to accept Allison Marsh's application to take the state exam.
You have a second?
Craig Nishimoto second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No, any opposed? So motion move forward. May I also have a motion to accept the ratification list of issued licenses, courtesy relief permits, as well as restored licenses.
Craig Nishimoto makes a motion to accept the ratification of issued licenses, item B on the agenda, ratification of courtesy relief permits, item C, and acceptance of restored licenses, item D.
May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? No opposition, so motion move forward. Okay, the next agenda item is examinations. Is there anyone who would like to provide testimony on agenda number 4?
Thank you, Chair. There is no one wishing to provide oral testimony.
Thank you, Mark. Carrie, would you share the examination results, please?
Yes, so we have a lot of exam results, starting with June 2024. 7 candidates were eligible for the exam, 5 passed and 2 failed. In July 2024, there were also 7 candidates, 3 passed and 4 failed. In August 2024, 7 candidates, 3 passed and 4 failed. And in September 2024, 7 candidates for exam, 6 passed and 1 failed.
Thank you.
Carrie, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
In this summary, it says first time pass and then first time pass percentage.
Yes.
Can you?
So these are, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just refresh my memory on this one.
Okay, so the summary that you got in your packet are the statistics from PSI Services, who administers our exam for us. And they break
Right.
down the percentages another step than I do. I just do a total overall for the month. PSI Services lets you know how many of those 7 candidates passed the first time. So for example, for the June results, they administered 7 tests. Of those 7, 2 of them passed the first time. 5 total passed, so 3 of the people who took the test in June had previously tested. This was their second,
Understood.
more than likely their second time. We have very few people that have to test a 3rd time.
Okay.
So the same would be true of all the other months. For example, in August, only 1 of those 7 people that passed was their first time taking the test. The other 2, this was of the 3 that passed, 2 of them had taken the test before.
Okay. That's an interesting statistic. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, we have our next agenda item is a correspondence, a letter from Dr. Dylan Martin. Is there anyone who would like to provide testimony on this particular agenda item?
Thank you, Chair. There's no one wishing to provide oral testimony.
So we received a copy in our packet. Dr. Morton has written a letter suggesting that the board consider either reducing the passing score for the state veterinarian examination or changing the examination format to open book. Is there any discussion?
Also in your packet, I thought I had provided, yes, I did. a copy of HRS 16101-16. That is where in your administrative rules, that should be HAR, not HRS, it's the administrative rule. What the passing score is. And it is currently 75% for both, we require 75% on the national exam and on our state exam to be considered a passing score. And it appears that it has been 75% as long as we've been administering the test. I can't find any earlier percentages than that.
And do you know, Carrie, as far as like other states, what the passing scores for their respective state exams? Do we have an idea?
I have not researched that, so I would not be able to state that.
From 70 to 75, are we talking about like one question or how much?
So there are 40 questions on our exam. A 75% means that you have gotten at least 30 of those questions correct. So I could do the math real fast, what 70 would be.
So that's like 30 out of 40 then.
Yeah, 30 out of 40 is a passing grade. So see if I remember how to do math.
Yeah.
70.
Because right now we're like at 75%, right?
Yeah. So 40. It would drop it down to a person could get 28 questions correct and still pass if I did my math correctly, rather than 30. It would be a 2-question difference. But it's only 40 questions, so it drops you down to a 70%.
I think in real estate, like, if I remember correctly, 75%, but it's more for those two people for input. There's
Yeah.
missing one,
Or 2 questions.
one question, Dr. Yoshimura and make lessen the qualifications or the knowledge of that candidate in your mind? I mean, that's what I would be concerned about. If you
Well-
miss one,
Well, remember, they have to miss 11 to fail currently. They've missed 11 questions. If we reduce it to 70%, they would
You have to miss 13.
miss 13.
So that's
Nice
that's
and
quite a
low.
chunk out of 40 questions.
And
Yeah.
and then another comment, the applicants are given the topics and the names of the references ahead of time.
Oh,
So they're not coming in blind.
uh-huh.
The-
okay, then I.
So they're given suggested materials to prep for the exam. Right, you're
Exactly.
seeing, right?
Yep.
Yeah, not suggested. They're given the resource that the subject matter experts use to create the question.
Oh, that sounds like giving the answers already.
Wow.
So the candidate bulletin breaks down the test. You're gonna have this many questions on this topic and this infectious diseases, this many topics on this topic. And then below that, it has a list of references that when the test was put together, that's the references used to create those questions. And many of them are websites.
What is Dr. Morton's interest in wanting us to do this? Has he applied and failed or?
Yes. He states that he believes that these changes would uphold the standards while also providing a fair assessment of the candidate's abilities.
Yes, he is not licensed in Hawaii.
Not yet, no.
But I guess he gave,
Try and take the test
Yes,
and he failed.
yes.
just
How
one
many
time.
times?
Once.
I guess like he does say in his letter about I guess in real life, I guess, that clinicians would look for resources to look up, which is kind of leading into his other request for an open book exam. But I'm just thinking these exams, usually you're looking for at least a minimum competency, wouldn't you think?
I
Right?
do agree with that.
Yeah, so,
My comment is if we did do open book, then our passing rate should go higher. I mean, the amount
True.
needed to be correct, because you have the references right in front of you. So from 75%, we should go up to 85, or if
Or
we're gonna
90%.
consider open book. yeah.
100%.
then you
So-
should cut the time shorter to
So-
take the exam.
So the question then would be, the test is designed to test minimum competencies in things unique to Hawaii that veterinarian in Maine would not encounter. So several of the questions are on toxicity. If a animal patient presents and they've ingested something, or would a doctor lose precious time having to look up a standard, something that someone who practices here would know what to do for that toxicity?
Like the oleander
Oleander plant?
plant, right? I mean, that,
So this is something that you might want to, if you are considering going to open book from closed book, these are some of the questions you might want to consider. This is to test knowledge that a vet should, kind of have in the back of their mind to practice in Hawaii. It's standard things in Hawaii that they wouldn't encounter elsewhere. Would open book still, would it compromise that person knowing that, or would they, in practice, would they have to stop and look that up their first month or so? And would that endanger any pets, or would that's why we have them take the test, not just to weed people out, but see if they have the minimum knowledge to practice here.
Right.
Because I can see it in an emergent situation, if there is an toxicity or poisoning of a pet, they would need to have at least some minimum knowledge. And if they need to enhance it, to be quickly to look it up versus like to rely on open book and to rely on other resources, that time could be detrimental to the patient, I mean, to the animal.
Right.
Yeah.
so
I
so
agree.
he missed on the Hawaii part.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as a reminder, all of the individuals approved for our exam, for the Hawaii state exam, have already passed the national exam.
Mhm.
So they have basic minimum competency to be a veterinarian.
Yeah.
They've passed that exam. Our exam is, do you have basic knowledge of things typical to Hawaii that you're not going to, typically would not
Yeah.
experience elsewhere in the country?
Because we have that for real estate too. The Hawaii is, yes. So we have to pass both. I'm not a licensed veterinarian, but I would think that if everybody else, if the majority of the applicants pass, then to me, we should not lower it because it seems that it's effective. I guess he doesn't want to go and wait and take it again or pay the money to take it again. Seems like. Can he take it right away?
60-day wait.
60 day, and then, and what is the fee?
Our exam is currently $30.
$30?
I think irregardless what the cost or whatever it is, I think overall, just looking at his first question about lowering the passing, I'm just thinking, historically, you folks don't have too many exam questions
No.
for veterinary compared to other licenses that I can speak of on my own, right? And then there is a minimum competency that we want to have to reassure the consumers that, that these individuals coming to practice in Hawaii
Right.
has that understanding, right? So we don't wanna underestimate what it is, what we're looking at, whether
Right.
it's convinced or not. Because 40
Carrie.
questions, yeah.
Carrie, I got a question. So, do you have statistics on pass rate for at least like the second try people? Like, is it up to nearly 100% if you try at least twice, or is it still less than that?
That's not something that we typically kept that statistic when we were administering the test. I suspect that I could ask PSI to get that information for us. Just anecdotally, what I remember, there are very few I do not, in the 2.5 years I've been here, 3 years, however long it's been, I do not recall someone retaking the test that has failed. If it has happened at all, it has only been once or twice. Retesters generally pass the exam.
I would think so.
But that is anecdotally, I don't have statistics in front of me to back that up. That's just going on my memory.
Right. Either they give up after 2 or they've all passed, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, as I said, I don't recall anyone failing the second time, but again, it's been 3 years. I could have missed somebody that I'm not recalling.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have to take action on this, or we can just accept the letter and move on?
I believe you can just accept the letter. I can tell the correspondent that the board discussed it at a meeting, and at this time they have taken his suggestions under consideration, but the passing rate and closed book stands.
Okay.
At this time, yes.
Yeah, and if the testing service can get that statistic, on.
You'd like to see those if I can get them?
Yeah, for next time. That would
Okay.
be great.
How far back would you like them to go since we started using them, or which was a little over a year ago now? Almost 2 years ago, or would you just like the last several months?
Up to the year.
1 year?
Yeah.
Are they able to also capture questions that are that more people miss?
Yes. Dr. Chalk asked if the testing administrator can capture the questions that are being missed. Yes, and they do that. And if they find that a question is missed a significant amount of time more than other ones, they'll bring that to our attention and ask us if we would like to have our subject matter experts relook at that question and see if it's poorly worded or if they've actually gotten the wrong information in the question. So yes, would you like to see if there's a question that's being failed more than others? I can ask them that while we're asking.
Is that, what's your thoughts? Because I'm thinking, if they're thinking that the passing rate, they want it lower or something, maybe that's just a question that needs to be reevaluated or something. They're just the way that it's being asked. Because we've done that, at a previous board where we did look at things like that. And then had to either throw out the questions or rewrite it in a manner that it's not confusing or something, rather than adjusting passing scores.
I think that's fair.
Okay, we can do that. So our test questions changed. If you'll recall, starting in April, we started a new pool of questions.
Okay.
So would you like me to ask them to go back to when we started the new questions? Because the old questions won't matter anymore. Some of the old questions came forward, but not all of them. So it would be hard to judge that. So I could ask them to go back to the start of the new questions
And how
Get
many,
us-
This April?
so how many,
This April, just this
so
April.
that means only like
6 months.
six.
May,
six-
June, July, August, September, October.
Oh, so 6 months worth of exams.
Mhm.
Okay, I think that should be a good sample size. Yeah.
You agree? Okay, so I will do that. I will reach out to our test administrator and ask them for the pass rates for second and third tries, if there were any third tries. And also, how would I word that? Questions,
That had a high percentages of,
high percentage fail.
Yeah.
What would you consider a high percentage of fail rate?
Yeah, I think
Over half?
Maybe just the top 3 questions that were missed most often.
Okay.
yeah, top 3, I guess, yeah.
3 missed. Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
And by consensus, I'm going to reach out to Dr. Morton and let him know that the board reviewed his letter and at this time no changes will be made. Took it under consideration. Okay.
Do we need a motion on that or?
Well, since you're not making any changes, I don't think we need Sherry, they're asking if they need a motion about letting Dr. Morton know that there's no changes. Is that okay just by consensus since nothing's changing?
Yes. Consensus is fine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So moving on to new businesses. Is there anyone who would like to provide testimony on this particular agenda item, number 6 for new businesses? Looking at the NAVLE retake policy and upcoming changes.
Thank you, Chair. We do not have anyone wishing to provide oral testimony.
Thank you. So Carrie, do we just go down? Did you want to do the NAVLE or?
Sure. So I gave you the new NAVLE policy changes coming up. They're going to be taking place for the 25 cycle of testing. Nothing much has changed significantly that affects our boards. It's affecting test takers. NAVLE has always had a 5-try limit. If you don't pass the NAVLE within 5 tries, there was a process to go through to request to take it a 6th time. They are changing who the test takers have to ask. I believe it used to be they had to ask a licensing board to sponsor them to take it a 6th time. And the new one is that they have to actually petition the International Council of Veterinary Assessment rather than their state board. That's the biggest change, but they wanted the boards to know that that's what was going to happen, so I brought it to you. There's no action necessary. If you have further questions, the information is there, and you can email me your questions and I'll reach out to them and get those answered for you.
Thanks, Carrie. And then so the next the next item for this for new businesses is the AAV SB Board Basics and Beyond, which I attended earlier in the year. I did have a binder that I did share with Vice Chair Dr. Wood. It's a very good meeting, I would say, especially for new board members in the leadership roles, like as a chairperson or vice chair, etc. They did format it basically really like it's almost like a 101 course on how to like conduct meetings. They had their attorney to kind of like go over procedural examples, and a lot of states were present that shared as far as how their state handled a lot of situations and questions, more or less topics that we address in our meetings. It was quite a learning experience as well to learn how other states across the country conduct. Some states don't have boards, which is interesting. Also learning how some states have no public members as well. Just all that type of information was very interesting in learning and sharing with that. So I would highly recommend, especially new board members and especially those in, vice chair and chair to attend, because there's a lot that's that one can take back from just procedural learnings and such from that meeting. So that's it for the board basics and beyond. They have it every year around spring. So it's always in I think Kansas City, where they're kind of like their main headquarters is.
Yeah. Oh,
And then the next one,
no, I just got an email. They're changing the basics to March. And so now I cannot go. I was gonna go, but it's in March. Everybody's gonna get an email on that.
I think I
I
went.
know, they changed it, yeah. I know.
Okay, so Eileen, did you want to share
Oh.
as far as the convention?
Okay, I'll give you a little bit and then Marcella can give her view from a delegate's perspective. I went this year basically as a committee member for the convention. I normally go early. There is a program, so if you go next year as a delegate, you go maybe a few days earlier, they will offer a similar type of day and a half board basics. Not quite, but gives you a lot of information. But what I find most beneficial attending these annual meetings is, number one, you hear about all the new ideas. You hear about what's affecting the veterinarian community. They talked about aging, which I thought was very apropos. Especially for me, that they have some concerns because there are veterinarians that are getting older, forgetting about, writing prescriptions and that sort of thing. So it was very interesting. I mean, this is across the country. So they cover a lot of topics. This year, they basically talked about the value of the public member, and that we give a different input into, I guess the association. And then, of course, you meet a lot of veterinarians across the state. So even though this is my third time, I can recognize certain people, but there's a few new ones. But overall, I would highly recommend that you go at least once. The information provided, because I help these young girls on the convention. They are amazing. The amount of hours that they put in. I mean, they meet every month, I mean, so it's worth it. And then I think we have one voting delegate, actually two, and one alternate. So, next year, it looks like it's gonna be in Cincinnati, because of the costs. So, yeah, but please, I mean, it's worth, it's 5-6 days of your time. Yeah. And the food was great. The weather was freezing. We went on a boat cruise. The only problem, it was dark and you really couldn't see anything. But overall, I mean, yeah, it's enjoyable and knowledgeable. And you get a chance to meet and hear about other people, how they do. The one thing before I end is, I have noticed that the majority of the boards have a representative from the what do you call it, the assistants,
Yeah, executive officer,
Staff.
the staff.
The directors.
no, for the assistants, the veterinarian assistants,
Oh, vet techs.
the vet tech. And I noticed we don't have one, so that might be something that the board may want to consider. I know that may have to be maybe a change by the legislature. But it appears that having them on the board, giving, some input from their perspective has been helping to increase the amount of, people that have been, uh, becoming the vet tech. So, or I think it is possible to quote, invite one. But I don't know if they even have an association.
So just to add to Eileen's report, a lot of the states are looking at expanding the scope of the veterinary technicians, that's why. So they do have some representation of vets, vet techs to provide input as far as, what their scope, how much they can do under their current training for those particular states. So that was kind of like some of the discussions that's been going on there. Some other things, I think at this particular meeting, which is pertinent to where a lot of the licensees were able to get continuing education, is that they talked about topics that were very important to many in your practices, such as drug narcotic diversion, examples, things like that about the state laws or whatever it is, and then the legal attorney giving you suggestions on how to handle cases of that disciplinary actions, perhaps at boards, whether they have any kind of program for those particular individuals that are involved in that type of situation. As well as, other type of more applicable practices. I think the sense I got was that there are shortages in your profession as well in many states, which is kind of like what led to the discussion about expanding the vet techs, as far as how they can assist to do some of the work that to help with the shortages in some areas. So definitely, I thought it's kind of like a progression that I'm seeing across the country for a lot of professions when there's shortages of those, whether it's veterinary medicine or, any other doctors and so forth. So.
Yeah, yeah.
But
It would be great to know, how many actually vet techs do we have? I mean,
yeah.
so, but yeah.
Do you guys have any questions or anything?
A question on the lectures, do you know if they got them race certified?
I just assumed they did, because they did talk about a lot about, because race was there promoting the fact that, so I'm assuming it is.
Okay, there are some of the speakers that will give you the credit. And they tell you which one, so that's the one that everybody goes to.
Right.
Yeah, the speakers, so you can get credit, not all, but there's certain
Right.
ones that are, you can get credit.
Yeah, so during the day, they have the sessions, the CE credits, and then the others were more like, where the delegates, where we had to go, which is more just going over,
Yeah.
what needed to be voted as far as their policy changes in the organization.
So it sounds like they have a continuing ed track that's
Yeah.
could go to with race approved.
Yeah, and it's they don't have it separately, so at least the delegates who are practitioners will be able to get
Yeah.
CEs because it's done like in the afternoon
Okay.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, I'll look more closely into that and see
Yeah.
how that works for you, Dr. Nishimoto.
Yeah, we missed you guys. Should have gone.
I mean, since everybody says Cincinnati, but it was a budget issue, but I've never been there, so.
And then, so that's the end of our reports.
Yeah.
So if there was anything else that you want me to ask about, or should I go into election of officers?
Go ahead and tell us.
Oh, okay, so the last agenda item that we have is election of officers. Is there anyone who would like to provide testimony on agenda item number 7 on elections of officers?
Thank you, Chair. We do not have anyone wishing to provide oral testimony.
Okay, and then so moving into nominations for chair and vice chair. Just someone to.
Didn't we just do it?
It's been a year. We have to.
It
do
has been a
Yeah, we
year?
have to do it every year.
Oh my
Um,
God.
We, I did do a straw poll, with our current chair and our current vice chair. And if someone would like to make that motion, they have both indicated that they would not be opposed to that.
I made the
Unless
motion.
someone else wants, unless someone else is dying to be chair.
I make the motion and that the chairman and the vice chair remain the same for the year 2025. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You see,
I guess
you saw
I
how
have a
fast my
second.
hand went up?
I second the motion.
Okay.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
any opposed?
Okay.
Okay, motion carried for it.
All right.
Okay, just ask, before you adjourn, if there's any.
Yeah, so before, so I just want, before adjourning the meeting, just want to ask, in our public session, is there anyone in our public who has any item up for discussion? Okay,
Thank you, Chair. We do not have anyone wishing to provide.
thank you, Mark.
This session.
Okay, so our next meeting is scheduled for Friday, December 13th at 10 a.m.
Hearing.
Yeah, in this room, and Zoom webinar will also be available. And then if there's no further business, meeting is adjourned
Okay.
at